A group of 5 friends is returning from a quick trip to Mexico and is now heading to a Lynyrd Skynyrd concert. They are Erin and her boyfriend Kemper, their friends Andy and Morgan, and Pepper, a hitchhiker they picked up the day before. Erin teases Kemper about the possibility of getting married, but when Kemper doesn't take it well, she decides to throw their joint out the window. Morgan tells them not to worry because they have 2 more pounds hidden in a piñata, accidentally revealing to Erin that the reason they went to Mexico was to buy a large amount of marijuana. Erin isn't very happy with this news, so Kemper tries to reconcile with her with a kiss. As he turns, he almost doesn't see a woman walking absent-mindedly in the middle of the road and nearly runs her over, swerving just in time thanks to his friend's warning. They stop the van and the girls approach the woman to offer help. She says she just wants to leave and go home. Erin and Pepper get back in the van and take the woman with them, promising to give her a ride home. During the trip, the woman sits in the back and keeps crying, answering their questions with, "Everyone is dead." When Kemper drives past a slaughterhouse, the woman panics and says he is going the wrong way. She even jumps on him to try to take control of the steering wheel. The van stops as they push her back, and the woman says she can't go back there because he is a bad man. Blood can be seen on her thighs as she reaches between her legs and pulls out a gun, which she uses to shoot herself in the mouth after telling the group that they are all going to die. Disturbed and panicked, the friends exit the van and try to decide what to do. Kemper wants to go to the police, but Morgan, who is already regretting picking up the woman, thinks it's not a good idea because the cops would find the marijuana in the van. Kemper decides to resolve the matter by taking the piñata full of marijuana and throwing it into an open field. Then he apologizes to Erin, saying he only bought the drugs so they could start a new life. The group returns to the van and drives until they find a gas station and a restaurant. While the girls go to the bathroom, the boys enter the restaurant and find the woman at the counter, Luda May, who calls the sheriff for them as they stare at the old meat covered in fleas in the fridge. Luda tells them that the sheriff will be waiting for them at the mill, and it could take 2 hours. This irritates the boys, who think the sheriff should come to them instead of making them drive with a dead body, but they have no other choice. They arrive at the mill a few hours later. The place looks empty and abandoned, and the sheriff is nowhere in sight. The boys want to dump the body there and leave, but Erin convinces them to wait. Suddenly, they become alarmed by some movement in the shadows, so they enter the building to investigate. There are all kinds of scary decorations hanging on the walls made of old dolls and plastic skeletons, and some strange noises coming from a cupboard. Kemper opens it, and they all scream, but it turns out to be just a skunk. There's another noise coming deeper in the building, so they go to check it out and find a little boy, Jedediah, who makes them promise not to hurt him. After they do, Jedediah agrees to come out of the building with them and answer their questions. He tells them that the sheriff is at home getting drunk and that he lives nearby. They can't drive there because there's no road, but it's a short walk. Ignoring Morgan's plea to just leave the body and go, Erin and Kemper decide to look for the sheriff while their friends wait at the mill. Jedediah tries to poke the woman's body with a stick, but Andy pulls him away from the van, making Jedediah run off. After crossing the woods, Erin and Kemper find an old house belonging to an amputee in a wheelchair named Monty, who is definitely not the sheriff. He lets Erin in to call the sheriff, but Kemper must wait outside. Monty dials the number for Erin and lets her talk, which is quite curious because back at the mill, Sheriff Hoyt is arriving to check the shed. After Erin finishes the call, she tries to leave, but Monty asks for help getting back to his wheelchair, so she accompanies him to the bathroom while a mysterious figure lurks in the shadows. As Erin is taking too long, Kemper decides to go into the house to look for her. He searches several rooms, following a noise that turns out to be a TV playing some old cartoons. When he bends down to pick up a bracelet that fell from the door, a man wearing a scary mask appears behind him. It's Leatherface, who hits him with a hammer and drags his body to a hidden basement behind a metal door. Erin hears the door closing and leaves Monty to go look for her boyfriend. She notices the hole in the metal door moving, but she can't open it, and her search is interrupted by Monty, who has gotten back into the wheelchair on his own and tells her that Kemper isn't in the house. Erin thanks him and leaves. Meanwhile, at the mill, Hoyt continues inspecting the body while interrogating the group. When he finds the woman's empty gun, he takes it and puts it in his sock. Then he asks Andy to help him wrap the body in plastic wrap while being watched by Jedediah, who has just returned. After the wrapping is done, Andy and Morgan put the body in the sheriff's car trunk, and Hoyt makes sure the group knows the way back before leaving. Aaron then returns and is surprised to hear that the sheriff has already passed and that no one has seen Kemper. A sudden noise interrupts the conversation, so they go to check what it is. It's a stick someone placed in a car to keep the horn honking constantly. The group panics when they realize there are body parts on the ground and grows desperate to get out of there. They continue searching for Kemper around the abandoned parking lot, and Morgan suddenly gets his arm stuck in a hole in a car. The group worries and tries to pull him out until he shows it's just a prank and that he's fine. He found something in there, however, a jar filled with water and 2 photos inside. One photo is of the girl who shot herself. The other is of her with her family. After discussing who should keep the van keys, Aaron puts them in her pocket and takes Andy with her back to Monty's house to see if they can find Kemper there. Back in the basement of the house, Leatherface is working on Kemper. First, he puts him in a tub to cut off some layers of him. Then, he hangs him upside down with some chains. A little box falls from Kemper's pockets, and Leatherface opens it, finding the ring he bought for Aaron. Andy and Aaron return to Monty and agree on a plan. Aaron will distract Monty outside while Andy sneaks in to find Kemper. He looks around and enters the kitchen while Leatherface spies on him through a hole. When he accidentally knocks a box to the floor, Aaron rushes inside to check on him. Now that a furious Monty knows Andy is inside, he starts banging on the floor with his cane to summon Leatherface, who suddenly opens the metal door and appears behind them with a chainsaw in hand. Aaron slams the door shut to try to stop him, while Andy tries to retrieve the wrench she brought that's under Monty's wheelchair. Leatherface destroys the door with his chainsaw, forcing Aaron to run out of the house. Then he goes after Andy, who stops his first blow with the wrench and then knocks him down. She also exits the house, but Leatherface pursues her, and when he catches up, he cuts one of her legs before grabbing her and taking her to his basement. There, Leatherface impales him on a meat hook before rubbing salt into his remaining leg, wrapping him in butcher paper and tying him up with human hair. After that, he starts working on a new mask made of skin. When he takes off the one he's wearing to try on the new one, it shows that his face is completely deformed. While he is busy with the masks, Andy tries to release his body, but the chains are rigged, and he can only impale himself deeper. At the mill, Pepper and Morgan are cleaning the van when Aaron arrives. Crying, she doesn't answer any of her friends' questions. She just gets in the van and tries to start it, unsuccessfully. She also asks for the gun, but Pepper says the sheriff took it. As if he had been summoned, Hoyt then appears, and at first tries to calm Aaron down. But when he notices the joint on the van's dashboard, his attitude changes. Now acting like an angry cop, he orders the 3 friends to get out of the van and lie on the ground while reprimanding them for using drugs. When Aaron tries to tell him about the killer in the house, Hoyt says he thinks it was Kemper who killed the hitchhiker and shoots at the ground when Aaron tries to deny it. He then grabs Morgan and forces him into the van so he can show him exactly what happened to the lost woman. Morgan is forced to sit in the blood-soaked seat, and then Hoyt hands him a gun and asks him to place it exactly where the hitchhiker chose, correcting Morgan when he lies, and points the gun at his chin, moving his hand to force it inside his mouth. Then Hoyt asks him to pull the trigger, but Morgan doesn't dare. When Aaron rises from the ground and asks what is happening, Hoyt gets distracted, so Morgan seizes the chance to aim the gun at him and threaten him. However, when he pulls the trigger, he discovers that the gun is empty. Hoyt calls him a murderer and takes the gun back before making Morgan exit the van while aiming a loaded gun at him. After taking the van keys, Hoyt takes Morgan with him in his car, where he hits the boy's face with a bottle and breaks his teeth. He calls someone on the radio to inform them that there are 2 girls at the mill ready. When they arrive at his house, Hoyt throws Morgan into the mud and kicks him a few times before dragging him inside. Pepper and Aaron try to find an alternative way to start the van. Aaron manages to hotwire it, but the van only moves a few steps before stalling again. Leatherface then appears, wearing Kemper's face as a mask, and starts cutting the van's roof and doors with his chainsaw, which the girls are able to dodge. Eventually, however, Leatherface makes a hole big enough to stick his arm through and grabs Aaron by the hair. Then Pepper exits the van in a panic. Leatherface doesn't waste any time and goes after her, quickly catching up and killing her in seconds. Erin sees him coming after her next and runs out of the van to flee through the woods, where she finds an old trailer inhabited by two women, Henrietta and the tea lady. The women allow her inside and say they don't have a phone. They also explain that Leatherface would never enter their home, that he was always a sweet boy who kept to himself because of a skin disease he had since childhood. Henrietta forces Erin to drink some tea before going to check on her crying baby. Erin begins to feel dizzy as she walks around the place and finds more photos of the hitchhiker, and she becomes frightened when she suddenly hears a phone ringing. Henrietta had lied about not having one. She also drugged the tea. When Erin realizes that the baby belongs to the dead hitchhiker and that the women have stolen it, she passes out on the floor. She wakes up sometime later in the main house, surrounded by the whole family: Leatherface, Luda May, Hoyt, and Monty. Jedediah is also there, pleading with Grandma not to hurt Erin, but he is not allowed to enter. Luda May explains that people have always mocked Leatherface for his condition, and she believes Erin is no different. She calls her boy to take her away, then Leatherface grabs her and throws her into the basement before closing the door. Erin looks around the basement and feels disgusted to find all the remains of Leatherface's victims. She also finds Andy, who is still alive, and asks for her help. Erin tries to get him off the hook, but is unsuccessful. Seeing that it is impossible for him to escape, Andy asks her to end his suffering. Erin grabs a knife and, after some hesitation, kills him. She cries over him and asks for his forgiveness before going back to search for an exit. This time, she finds Morgan handcuffed in a bathtub, still alive as well. While Leatherface spies on them through a hole, Jedediah finds the friends and tells them to follow him because he can guide them out through a secret passage. Erin does so slowly because she is carrying the weight of Morgan. Leatherface enters the basement with his chainsaw in hand and begins to chase them through the passage. The trio runs as fast as they can until they reach the stairs, where Morgan's leg gets stuck in the wood as it breaks underneath him. While Erin helps him get free, Leatherface encounters several delays. First because his chainsaw shuts off, then because Erin kicks him, and afterward when Jedediah bites his hand to distract him. Morgan and Erin manage to escape and close the door behind them, but soon Leatherface bursts through with his chainsaw and begins to chase them again. The friends find an abandoned cabin in the woods and enter, using an old couch to barricade the door, but quickly need to move away because Leatherface uses his chainsaw to bring this door down too. Still dragging Morgan, Erin tries to escape through the windows, but all are blocked. Eventually, they find a room to hide in. Morgan climbs into a closet, and Erin squeezes into some wooden boxes just before Leatherface comes into the room and starts to look around. Erin spies through a hole in the wood, and when she thinks he has left, she begins to get up, only to be suddenly grabbed by Leatherface's arms that break through the wood behind her. He drags her back into the room by her hair and throws her to the floor, and Morgan chooses that moment to jump on him and make him drop the chainsaw. The two struggle until Leatherface finally overpowers Morgan, impaling him on the chandelier and cutting his groin with the chainsaw. While he is busy with Morgan, Erin runs out of the house and runs through the woods again, gaining some ground when Leatherface trips over a fence and injures himself with the chainsaw. She reaches a road and tries to get help from an approaching car, but it ignores her and drives away. After running a bit more, she encounters a slaughterhouse and rushes inside, where Leatherface manages to grab her. She kicks him and starts running again, this time entering the freezer and hiding behind a carcass of meat. The hiding place doesn't last long because Leatherface starts moving the chains controlling the meat hooks and hits her with the carcasses. Her scream allows him to find her and start chasing her again. After dodging a chainsaw blow that falls between her legs, Erin exits the freezer and enters a room full of pigs, where she finds a cleaver that she grabs to defend herself. Then she rushes to hide inside a cupboard. When Leatherface arrives, she makes noise on purpose to get him to find her, and when he approaches and opens the cabinet door in front of hers, she leaps on him from behind and cuts his arm. It's impossible for him to grab the chainsaw now, and while he struggles with that, Erin escapes from the building and back to the road. The truck that passes this time stops for her and lets her in. In a parallel way to her encounter with the hitchhiker, Erin seems absent, only saying she wants to go home and reacting poorly when the truck driver takes her back to the crazy family's house. Her attempt to gain control of the wheel is unsuccessful, and the truck driver parks in front of the old house, regardless of her pleading. Aaron exits the truck after him and sneaks behind the house to watch him talk to the family, who still has the hitchhiker's baby. As Aaron moves to start hot-wiring a vehicle to escape, Hoyt approaches the truck, ignoring Henrietta's sudden screams when she realizes the baby is gone. To the sheriff's surprise, the truck is empty, because what Aaron was doing was hot-wiring her own car, which she uses to run over him 3 times before driving off with the baby in the passenger seat. Without warning, Leatherface suddenly appears on the road and tries to stop the car with his chainsaw, but with only one arm, he lacks the control to aim it correctly, and Aaron manages to escape anyway. The police arrive at the residence to investigate 2 days later, on August 20th. When the officer and his cameraman descend into the basement, they are attacked and killed by Leatherface, who is still out there. The case remains open today.